We call on our paternal ancestors.
The African connection with yoga, and that we can actually break it down and demystify it.
Yeah, it's a pretty deep question even from the beginning to even ask that one, because we're really talking about the brain.
We practice a vegan lifestyle, but it was considered vegetarian.
Kemetic legacy is part of their legacy, part of their ancestry, and that, the first scholars, the first writers, artists, mathematicians, scientists.
The first 100 years of this third millennia is the century of a consciousness awakening to who we are.
Just wrap my mind around the reality of that statement as being very accurate.
We eat from the foods that the Creator has brought up through the earth, which is a vegetarian diet. And in this diet, and with this breath, we have the power to have physicals that are remarkable throughout our lives.
Greetings, greetings, greetings. My name is Omiale Jube, and it is my honor to open this portal of communication to bring forth this awesome production. We begin by pouring libation to soften the ground, to call forth the spiritual energies to join us on this day. We begin with calling in the one, the all, by any name you choose, divine source, the creator. We welcome all of the spiritual energies to join us today, all those that have our highest good in mind. We call on the Netaru, the Orisha, the archetypes. We call on the ascended masters from all the cultures all across the world. We call on the angels of 100% pure light across all time and space. And we call on our ancestors, those upon whose shoulders we stand. Please join me in calling out their names. We call out our maternal ancestors. Call their names. Our mothers and grandmothers and great-grandmothers. We call on our aunts and our sisters and our nieces and our friends. We call on our sheroes. Call them out. Call out their names so they can hear you and join us today. We call on our paternal ancestors. Call them out. Our fathers and grandfathers and great-grandfathers. We call on our uncles and brothers and nephews and our heroes. We call out the names of all those known and unknown that come before us. For we are our ancestors and our ancestors are us. We call on the energies of the East. We call on the energies of the West. We call on the energies of the North and the South. We call on the energies from below. Mother Earth, asking her to bring up her energy from her crystal core to join us today. We call on the energy of the sun to shine down upon this production and stimulate our melanin as it continues to grow the essence of life. And we call on the energy from within. We ask for blessings for this production. We ask that this production travel far and wide, that it may fall on the masses, the hearts and minds of the masses, so that their ears may be open to hear, and their eyes may be sharpened to see the vision, and their minds open to new horizons, and their hearts warmed to take in the knowledge, embrace the truth. We give blessings to the producers of this production. We give blessings to all of the participants, the panelists, and to all those whose hands came together to bring this production to fruition. It is our time. As we come into this new time, this new age of Aquarius, this new cycle, we go back to the future, back to our ancient knowledge, back to our ancient knowledge. It is time. It's time for us all to rise. Mother Earth is rising, as she rises to her rightful place as a fifth dimensional planet. May we all rise with her. Rise from within. And with that, in the ancient tradition of Mother Africa, I would like to ask permission to officially begin the production. So to all the elders out there, may we have your permission to begin. And please join me in saying, Ashe, Ashe, Asheo. Sante Sana.
It's time to live. It's time. It's time to live. It's time. It's time to live.
Chapter 1 deals with diet. We begin with diet so that we can do a better job at prolonging our lives and have a quality of life. We are all have one physical body, and it's limited in time. So in this chapter, this is our general reminder to strive to do better and eat better foods so we can live a good quality of life.
Well, the diet is very important. The way we look at the temple, the body temple, is that the body temple, it vibrates in three frequencies. The first frequency is electrical. Our nervous system is charged by the breath. The breath is an electrical generator. It generates power to our systems. The second is the chemical. The food we eat is a chemical science. And if we avert from there, if we don't stay the straight and narrow, then we start running into aberrations with our health, which now become health problems. So we eat from a natural perspective. We eat from the foods that the Creator has brought up through the earth, which is a vegetarian diet. And in this diet, and with this breath, we have the power to have physicals that are remarkable throughout our lives.
But yeah, all of the health concerns, the major health issues that we are challenged with in the Black community come from an improper perspective, that we have regarding diet. In our community, we're put upon by, diabetes, excessive weight gain, which creates all types of organ failure, heart disease.
As I looked around me, I saw that all the elders in my family had really passed away, especially the men. When they got around, when they got into their late 40s, early 50s, they really passed away. And so I felt that I wanted to go into a new cycle. So I felt that doing yoga and eating the correct diet, a plant-based, vegetarian, vegan diet, was going to give me longevity. So that's when I got into my 60s and 70s and 80s and 90s and 100s, that I would still be able to have the same level of youthfulness, or at least approximate the same level of youthfulness as I would have in my 20s and 30s.
And during that process, we did a fast, and that was the first time I'd ever fasted, where we learned to not fast in the traditional sense of not eating anything, but to be more intentional about what you're putting in your body and how your body is affected by it. So the first week, you're doing all raw foods, raw fruits and vegetables, nothing cooked, no processed items whatsoever, no starches, no dairy, nothing that's going to be heavy on the body. And then the next week, it's all juices, all vegetable juices, so nothing to chew on, which was kind of challenging initially. You don't realize how used to chewing you are and how much you miss it. But I saw changes in my body that were amazing.
Pretty much the change happened when we went away to college, because you're now not just away from home, not eat whatever you want to eat, but you're also gaining knowledge about life, your body, and the world, and you start to understand about what is a carnivore, or what is a herbivore, or what's the impact of the meat industry on the planet. And so all those changes have an impact in how you start to look at your own body and your own behavior. So I actually started to just be a vegetarian in like the latter years of college, after reading material that meat is dead meat. Putting dead meat in your body, it putrefies, and it's not really helpful in the long run. So let me just start eating just vegetables and fruits and non-meat items.
The way we ate, we grew up vegetarian. I don't think the word vegan was around. I'm 40, so I don't ever remember hearing the word vegan until recent years. But we were vegetarian, and not that we ate cheese or eggs or drank milk or anything like that, but we practiced a vegan lifestyle, but it was considered vegetarian.
We can't see inside of our bodies, so that when we're eating and living off of a diet of fast foods, we can't see the development of the adipose, the fatty tissue, that accumulates on the inside of the body and surrounds all of the organs, cutting off the oxygen that those organs need. And so, we begin to literally deteriorate from the inside. And that eventually moves, to an outward expression of that state of deterioration.
When I couldn't breathe, I had a cold. I was about 19. I went to the doctor. He said, you have sarcoidosis. Between 30 and 50, we're going to die. We're going to die from it. So he said, you'll be dead between 30 and 50. Anyway, that put me on my journey. I needed to know how to heal myself. So that's where know thyself, heal thyself took off from, because I needed to know how to get this power, this breath back. That took me into changing my diet, because I did smoke cigarettes. I quit immediately. I got with some people who were vegetarians. I had my first vegetarian meal. I said, I can do this. I started completely eliminating everything else, going to the market, buying boxes of oranges and apples and grapes and greens, and eating salads and juicing my fruits, juices. I became all the way organic. My breath came back. And when my breath came back, I said, that was the electrical. I got my electrical back. Now I need to master my mechanical. So these friends of mine who were vegetarians, they was telling me about the yoga. I was like, I need to check that.
I got started in yoga as an extension of my interest in gaining a renewed level of health and wellness. From the time I was growing up in the projects in Chicago, from the age of about 6 until the age of 21, actually, I had like headaches every day, stomach aches every day. I was, even though I played sports and was athletic, I was sick on the internal level.
A good friend of mine came to visit me in D.C. I was in school there at the time. And he came down, spent a little bit of time with me, a brother by the name of Silas Ashley. And Silas was talking about some changes he had made in his diet. And I said, what kind of changes? And he said, well, I stopped eating meat. I said, really? I said, you stopped eating meat? I said, why? He said, because it's just not that healthy for you. And when he said that, it resonated. And it hit a place in me that allowed me to just wrap my mind around the reality of that statement as being very accurate.
And so when I turned 21, I decided that I was going to adopt a vegetarian or a vegan diet. And the benefits not only for myself, but for other people, so it motivated me to keep wanting to, to pursue it.
I lost a lot of weight. I was already very small at that time, but I lost more weight. I had severe acne at the time, and my skin cleared up incredibly. I could breathe better. You know, you didn't have the dairy on your system. It wasn't hard to be able to breathe. And I just felt like I had more energy. So it made sense. You know, it was part of the initiatory process to learn about diet and the importance of diet.
So you know what? Let me just start eating just vegetables and fruits and non-meat items. But then it's like, well, start losing weight, and so you got to put all that into place about, well, you need protein. So where you getting the protein from? So all that back and forth. But then it really came to realization that, you know, you can eat well, stay fit, and die anyway. So now it's a matter of what you put in your body to stay healthy. So now it's just being cognizant of the food items. So don't really eat red meat. Just, again, poultry and fish if there is meat. And then try to emphasize the pigmented foods, again, even with the vegetables, the kale, collard greens, and on the level of beans, in terms of from navy beans to kidney beans, black beans, and just eating food items that have pigments is very important. Okay, today I eat cantaloupe. I like asparagus. So I know beets was a item that beets wouldn't even think about that, but beets has nitric oxide and it's a whole lot of medicinal properties help out with the cardiovascular system. So you know what, beets are pretty good. And so you think about beets and the pigments that are in beets. You know, I've written books on melanin, and my whole issue is that pigment power. Without pigments in your food items, you really don't have what your body needs.
It's hard when you take a different path from everyone else. You know, they see you and they think that you're odd, or they wonder what you're doing and why. And so it made sense. You know, it was part of the initiatory process to learn about diet and the importance of diet. You know, the Kemetic priests, when they practiced 3 to 4 months out of the year, they didn't consume any meat whatsoever. It was all a vegetarian diet. So at that time, I remember saying I need to modify how I eat. So I completely gave up red meat and pork, you know, cold turkey, for lack of a better term. And it wasn't that hard, you know. So since then, I've limited most of the meat that I eat. I'm not vegetarian or vegan, but I do eat a lot less meat, and I am eating more vegetarian foods. My husband's vegetarian, so we end up eating a lot of the same foods.
As children, you want to do what everybody else is doing. You know, you're clear of who you are, what you're doing. You're on your path to, you know, success. You're following what your parents teach you or tell you, but everybody else is doing something different. Learned a little bit more about other eating habits, and quite frankly, it helped me because most of our family would eat meat and things like that. I specialize in vegan vegetarian, but I also infuse West Indian, West African styles of cooking into my catering. So even though my father would prefer for us to be completely vegan, it actually helped me to learn more about nutrition. It helped me to learn more about food and how to create a healthy, nutritious meal. That's my goal, to give people options, to still have wonderful taste, that comfort food, that soul food, that's something that speaks to you, but do it in a way that's not going to hurt you in the long run.
But yeah, you know, because whenever you sit down at the dinner table, especially like around holidays and the family and friends who have gathered to celebrate whatever the holiday is, and you're not partaking, you know, of the food, and you've made your own little dishes on the side, it's offensive to them, you know, and I get that, you know, I get that because that's not an area that they exist in, you know, and so it's not a reality they've embraced, and so it brings up fear, and in that fear, you know, is pushback. I do a few grains. Most of the grains that I do, millet, quinoa. But outside of that, you know, it's mostly vegetables and fruits. And so you find a lot of individuals who have stopped eating meat, but then they go back. And the reason that they go back is because they didn't wean themselves off of it. And that's what I did. So I stopped eating all red meat first, and then I continued to ingest chicken and fish. I did that for a year, then I removed the chicken and just ate fish. Did that for a year, and then I remove the fish. And I find that when you wean yourself off of flesh, you don't have that desire to go back to it in any way, shape, form, or fashion. My motivation is just to really inspire, to bring light, to bring awareness. And that's my motivation. I really want to see those around me uplifted and moved into a place of consciousness that is of a perpetually spiritually enforced design of being in it, but not of it.
Variation is broadest in African people. We must be involved in this science. I claim the science for self-discovery, and self-discovery for being able to be all that we are created to be. And when we move into that way of thinking, all that we have been, certainly in terms of the history books, it pales in comparison to all that we can become. And that's the future that I would like our students and our generation to that the genome is saying, you haven't seen anything yet. You getting all excited about your ancestry. Hey, this genome is about your destiny. It's all that's already preloaded. You made in my image. You are naturally supernatural.
My motivation is to know more today than I knew yesterday. I love education. I love, I've been going to school for so many years. There was a point where people would tease me and say, all you do is go to school. I have my bachelor's, my master's, my doctorate, and now I'm getting a second master's, focusing on public health. And I love it so much because it's so much different than what I've learned before. So it gives me an opportunity to learn a completely different field. So the opportunity to learn, to grow, and to share the information that I have with others, that motivates me. The opportunity to help people feel good about themselves and to know that we didn't come from a downtrodden, slave race. That's not who we are. That we are so much more, that we are so much greater. Every day I learn something new, and I'm grateful for what I learned. So my motivation is education and teaching and learning and producing the best form of myself.
My motivation is to, one, stay alive, and two, get my freedom. And my freedom to me means being able to do what makes me happy. Kemetic yoga makes me happy, not just practicing it for myself, but teaching it to other people. I'm motivated because it feels good, and it's my liberation and helping people to know that they too can be themselves is a part of what we do. So I guess that's a part of my motivation too, to let people know that they can be who they are without conforming to any specific something.
So my motivation is seeing our community restore. That's my motivation. Seeing not just our athletes, but our elders. That's the mission I am on. That is the full level of the research. To restore our elders, to bring our youth forward where they bring the power in, where they live within the power, where they walk with their ankhs, my sister. Walk with their keys of life. Know what that key really means, that it opens the two doors to life.
To have influence on those who are, I guess, not just looking at me, not following me, but respecting me. So if I have a path to follow, a path to go on, I can then have people say, oh, no, that's the path I would like to go on. When you ask about maybe intellectual scholars, and it's like, well, who did you follow? Who did you? It's a kind of a difficult question. But when I look at people's work, like Frantz Fanon's work as a black psychiatrist coming from France, I didn't come from France, I'm not a psychiatrist, but his work, Black Skin, White Mask, Toward the African Revolution, Dying Colonialism, his last book, Wretched of the Earth, man, what he did to change the world, that's a path. So for me, when you say motivation, hey, I study and learn like we all should, because you don't stop learning. now how can I now find that path where I can continue to learn and impact others around me?
Yeah, my motivation is that I want to see Kemetic yoga become something that is very accessible to people, that whether they use the term Kemetic yoga or not, the people who practice yoga really start to understand what yoga really is, that it is not just flexibility or physical movements and posture that you do for fitness, that it is a spiritual practice, it is a practice for your whole inner self-development. And so my goal is to allow Kemetic yoga to become recognized around the world. So that's what I do.
Seek and you shall find the answer, the meaning, your purpose. Know that healing is intentional and starts from within. Healing yourself is a process. Intentionally allow yourself to be healed from within. Ground yourself. Feel the earth beneath you. Breathe in deeply. Exhale and release. Ground yourself. Become one with the almighty power. Align your mind, body, and spirit. Become free. Liberate your being. Breathe in balance, peace, and harmony. Allow yourself the opportunity to live and experience life in all of its fruits, from the tree